We have a special guest who's made the trip over here to the garden, and we're so glad she's with us right now. With me is Alexandra. I'm going to call her Alex Haile. She's family attorney with Dummit Fradin, and we welcome you to the program.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
We're going to talk about child support, which is one of your specialties. What financial factors do the courts consider when they calculate child support?
So in North Carolina, we have these worksheets that only consider the incomes of the parties. They also look at which party, if any party, covers any health insurance for the children. They might look at any extraordinary expenses, such as if the child has special needs, like a wheelchair or occupational therapy or something like that. The main thing that they're looking at is the custodial schedule. So if they have 50-50 custody, primary custody, or...
Yeah, so what happens if both have joint custody? I mean, how does that work out?
So with joint custody, there's not going to be a party that necessarily gets out of paying support. It's really going to be based on the disparity of the income. So the higher earning parent will likely pay something. However, that amount that they pay will be much less than it would be if one parent had a primary schedule.
Now, you were given an example of a child with a disability. Are there any other examples that are extenuating that have, because we know that child support would cover health care costs, and in some cases, I guess, would it cover education and...
It's different. So if we're looking simply at the worksheets, they don't necessarily factor in education. However, a party can always file a motion to deviate from the guidelines. When they do that, they would then have to put on evidence as to why they need to deviate from the guidelines. They may say that there's an extraordinary educational expense or something like that. However, they're going to have to then put on evidence in front of a judge, and then the judge decides. And the judges in Forsyth County, at least, are very rare to deviate from that guideline amount.
Now, is the calculation for child support the same for high-income parties? If somebody, if a guy is supposed to be paying child support and he makes $40,000 a year and another man makes $400,000 a year, I mean, what's the deal?
Sure. So the guidelines are presumed appropriate for parties that together make less than $35,000. Yeah, $35,000 a month. If they make more than $35,000, they again are going to be facing a hearing where they're putting on evidence as to the reasonable needs and expenses of the child to determine that determine that amount. It won't be through calculation.
Right. Well, I shouldn't insert an opinion here, but if you're making more than $35,000 a month, you said, you need to take care of child support. Let's look at a negative here. What if I say, hey, I'm just going to be nasty about this, and I refuse to pay child support? What can happen to me?
So there's a few different things that can happen. If you've already had an order in place, many times the judges will throw a party in jail for not paying that order or to paying that amount. Many times they'll be held in jail until an amount is paid. Many times we'll go to court the day of a hearing, and the judge will say, can you pay anything today? And sometimes if the parties do not pay anything that day, then they will be held in jail.
On sort of a similar theme, but tying it into these pandemic times and stay-at-home times that we're in. As you well know, more so than at any other time in recent memory, more and more people being laid off. They're saying, the unemployment rate doesn't look too high right now, but some projections are it can be as high as 15% by August. What happens if I'm well-meaning as far as, I want to pay child support, I've always been on time, but now I've lost my job? What happens?
So if you've lost your job, you need to file a motion to modify child support based on a substantial change in circumstances. Obviously, that change is going to be that loss of your job. Now, when you have that motion in front of the court will consider whether or not you are voluntarily losing your job to try to decrease the amount of child support that you're paying, or if you have involuntarily lost that job. If a court finds that you have voluntarily decreased your income to decrease that amount in child support, they have the option of imputing your higher income that you previously made and requiring you to pay that amount that you were paying.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you a couple personal things.
Sure.
Who or what led you to want to become an attorney?
So I have an interesting path. I actually taught elementary school for a few years.
You said you have an interesting path or past. I have an interesting past, but we can't talk about that on this.
This is true. I have an unusual as far as the life that brought me to become a lawyer. I taught elementary school for a few years.
Okay.
I taught in some high income or high poverty, low income schools, and decided it wasn't for me. I wanted to help out a little bit differently. The emotional stress of being a teacher was difficult, and I wanted to help on a different scale. My father's also an attorney, and that kind of motivated me to go back to law school.
I'm glad you could help us with this topic. On screen, dummitfradin.com is the website for the radio listening audience. I'll say it again, dummitfradin.com. You can also call 877-978-3218. Alex, thanks for helping us.
Thank you for
Hope
having
you
me.
come back sometime.
Of course.